How many of you think that you have a great idea for your next business? Raise your hand. In fact, I was on the elevator with Tara, and we were coming up. We were in the parking lot together. We hadn't met. She said, "Oh, you're the speaker today." I said, "Yes, I am." She goes, "I've got a great idea for a business." And she didn't say it exactly like this. But basically, she's like, "I'm not going to share my idea. It's so good." And what I didn't want to tell her one-on-one, but I'm happy to tell you now in front of all these people here, Tara, is that I actually don't believe there's such a thing as a great business idea. I really, genuinely don't. I don't believe there are things that are great business ideas. I think there are probably bad ideas, right? I think we can unanimously say there are some ideas that are just so bad that when you hear them, like, that would never work. But we may even be surprised in those cases. But I don't think that there's something called a good idea. I think there are good businesses. I think there are good business owners. I think there are good teams. I think there's good execution. People all the time come into my office. I get probably about 20 to 30 unsolicited requests a week of people saying, "Jason, can I come ask you for advice on your business?" And I try to take on as many of them as I can while still running my own business. And people will come in and they'll show me their PowerPoint deck, they'll show me what they're building, they'll tell me their pitch, they'll show me the business plan. And what's always their first question? What do you think of this idea?
Where can I get the money?
Next, they ask me where they can get their money. The first question is, so what do you think of this idea? And I always say this. I always look them dead in the eye and I say, I'll tell you, I have heard some of the ideas that I thought were the absolute worst that turned out to be huge multi-million-dollar businesses. And I've heard some ideas that I thought were great that turned out to be complete duds. I have no idea if what you're telling me is a good idea or not, but I promise you that if you are willing to give it your all and you follow what other successful people have done, you will have a chance to be successful. To which they reply, "Okay, that's great, but what do you really think of the idea?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a great idea. It's fantastic. It's a wonderful idea." To me, ideas don't matter. Execution does. Think of what Docstoc is. Docstoc is a site to share documents. I started this in 2007. The entire internet was started to share documents. Web pages, Google still calls web pages documents because when the internet was first started, it was a way to share documents. There is nothing revolutionary. There is nothing mind-blowing. There is no magic secret sauce in the idea of Docstoc, a way to find and share documents. That was the first tagline. And now our goal is to make every small business better. What we hopefully did do is we built something that was different and better. And the reason I call this the fallacy of the good idea is that when I talk to a lot of folks and I ask them, "Why aren't you starting your business? Why don't you just jump into it? Why don't you do it now?" They all say the same thing. "Oh, I don't have a good enough idea." You don't need a good enough idea. There is no good enough idea. It's not going to come along and hit you one day. It's like, hey, this is the perfect idea. The best, most successful businesses are based on taking something else that's successful and figuring out how to do it different and better. And if someone comes to me and they tell me, "Hey, I've got this idea that nobody else is doing," my first response is, why would you want to do a business that nobody else is doing? There are millions of businesses. There are billions of consumers. We've pretty much figured out a lot of stuff that people want already. You can do something different and better than what already exists, but would you really want to do something that nobody has ever done before? I wouldn't necessarily. I want to look for problems to solve that people already have, and I want to figure out how are other businesses not doing that as good as they possibly could, and I want to do them different or better. So for me, ideas don't matter, execution does. Don't get so hung up on your idea. The reason why this is also important is, to quote William Shakespeare, to share or not to share your idea. I think that was his original draft. I am of the camp. There are two schools of thought. One school of thought is, I'm not going to share my idea with anybody because if I do, somebody's going to steal it. And also, people are going to give me this negative feedback of why I want to do it, and I don't want to tell folks that. And then there's a second school of thought, of which I fall into, which is I'm going to tell everybody and anybody my idea. And the reason I'm going to do that is twofold. One is because I'm going to get lots of valuable feedback from everybody on what may or may not work. They're going to tell me, hey, have you thought of this? Have you talked to this person? There's someone doing something similar. You should look at this product. And that's how I'm going to get the feedback of knowing what to do and what not to do. But more importantly for me, by sharing my ideas, I'm actually creating a social contract with all of these people. If I, in front of all of you, tell you, hey, here's my idea. Let's come up with an idea right now, right? Let's come up with an idea not for an online business or anything fancy. Let's say it's a dry cleaning business. And it's quite simply, it's a dry cleaning business that can turn around your clothes in an hour. And so it's got some other stuff going on there. It's got a coffee shop. It's got a daycare. You're going to want to go to this dry cleaning business, and you're going to want to hang out there and spend more money with these extra services, playtime, maybe buy some retail stuff while your dry cleaning is getting done. Or maybe it's a car wash that does that. I have no idea whether this is a good idea or a bad idea. I know that if we really focus on it, we could do well. Now, some of you may think, I'm not going to share that idea with other people because I don't want somebody to take my specialized dry cleaning car wash business. But guess what? Nobody will. I've never known anybody to actually take somebody else's business idea, and because they just took somebody else's business idea, were successful for it. Ideas aren't the commodity. Execution is. But what is going to happen when I tell all of you about that is, guess what? You're going to come up to me, and you're going to say a week later, a month later, 3 months later, hey, how's that dry cleaning business going? What's going on with your car wash business? And I'm going to feel social pressure to commit to doing that thing that I said that I was going to do. And that's a reason why a lot of us don't share our ideas with other people, if we're honest. Let's be honest with ourselves. The reason we a lot of times don't share our ideas with other people is not because we don't want them to find out about our great, fantastic, amazing idea, of which I'm sure you've all got a lot of them. It's because we don't want people asking us, hey, what's going on? We want to give ourselves a way to back out. If I didn't tell anybody about this idea, if I didn't do anything with it, then if it doesn't go anywhere, then it doesn't look bad about me. But you don't want to do that. You want to put yourself in a position where you feel as much pressure as possible. And so in my case, by telling as many people as possible what I intend to do, I created a social contract. When I was in my last year of law school, and I started working on Docstoc, I created this ridiculously horrible presentation about Docstoc. In fact, I'm going to show it to you right now. It's on Docstoc. I'm going to show you how bad this presentation was. This is the presentation I created, the first presentation about Docstoc. At the time, I was calling it DocBury. We went through all different kinds of names. At one point, I was trying to call it a document exchange, so we called it Excument, but then it sounded like excrement. I was like, yes. So see, if I had not told somebody about excrement, I may to this day have a business that's named after shit. I could have a business that's named after shit if I was not willing to share that idea. And this is the ridiculous, I'm not going to make any bones. I'm not trying to set the bar low to impress you. This isn't like a sleight of hand misdirection where you're going to see something amazing now. This is really bad. I'm just letting you know how awful this presentation was. A dyslexic monkey could have done a better presentation than I could have for the first thing about Docstoc. And I wrote out all this text, so mistake number one, I put way too much text on the page. I took MS Paint. That was the extent of my graphic skills. And I said, here's where you go to upload documents. And users can place documents in categories. And I was like, look at our homepage. This is the homepage of the site, right? Upload a document, search by tag, search by categories. I don't know I had that circled. I don't know what attention I was trying to draw there that was so special about it. And then I went to download.com and I tried to figure out how to cut and paste over it to make it look like my results because I didn't know how to do it. And that was it. That was my entire presentation. It took me about 2 days. I skipped 2 days worth of classes in law school. And I did nothing but work on this presentation. And I just started sharing this presentation with anybody and everybody I could. I would just go up to my friends in law school as they were studying, and I would say, hey, what do you think about this? And the reaction wasn't overwhelmingly positive. Some people liked it, but a lot of people just said, I don't get it. Now, in my case, that made me more motivated to want to do it. Because I told myself, well, I'm going to show them. I'm going to show them that I can make this something successful. And if in that moment, when I showed you, imagine this is 6.5 years ago, and I'm showing you this ridiculously stupid presentation that looks like this dyslexic monkey made it. And then I told you, hey, this product that you see right here in this PowerPoint, over 500 million people in the next month are going to use it. Would you have believed that? I wouldn't have. If somebody showed me that PowerPoint, I wouldn't have believed that. But there have been over 500 million people since that time that at some point have used Docstoc. Our ideas are not the key thing that makes a difference. Execution does. Don't get caught up in the fallacy of a good idea, the perfect idea, a good enough idea. It doesn't exist. Take something that you're passionate and go with it. So that being said, I know a lot of you still want to go through analysis of, well, how do I know if my idea, let's not call it good. Let's call it whether that idea is the right one for you. Because there is an opportunity cost. Picking idea A versus B versus C has a cost to it. By doing A, you don't get to do B or C. So there is a real opportunity cost of the idea that you pick and which one you want to go with.